So as you know, I've obviously been watching Trump's footsteps pretty closely because I'm actually kind of curious as to which angle he's going to go for in his second bid to be president. Obviously, he has a lot of people behind him. He has those charges behind him at the moment. But what's been curious to me has been how he seems to have completely abandoned the principles of what he first came into office with. So when he first before his first time, he was ban all illegal immigrants, build a wall. We're going to ban Muslims. Um, we're going to no big money in politics. I don't care. He went to the lobbies and said, I don't care about your money because I'm already rich and I'm going to be self funding. He was against foreign wars. And he wasn't as supportive, ideologically aligned at the very least, with countries like Israel or Ukraine. Right? He was a America first proposition as a president. Right? So that was his first term, and then he got into office. And from when he was in office, he hired people like John Bolton, neocons. All through his administration, he took Mike Pence as his vice president, he's an evangelical Christian, so he tried to bring that base in. He said he was going to do inside prior to his first term. He said, "I'm going to be the executive branch. I'm going to start taking over and actually start dictating by myself as to what everyone else does. And I'm going to start divvying up roles to people who are actually going to do the jobs." When he actually got into office, he didn't do any of that. He didn't like to lead. He doesn't like to actually be, quote unquote, the president or the CEO of the company. He didn't decide to start divvying up to people who would actually get things done. He divvied up to all the wrong people. And to coming towards the end of that presidency, he had that COVID situation with vaccines, which he messed up on with its base. And then it kind of just became a shit show after that. So that is his first term presidency. After that, they vote him out because they wanted Biden. Biden was the person that they wanted to. Mind you, during this entire first term, he didn't get any of the things that he said that he wanted, the reasons why Margaret wanted him in done. So he didn't get the wall done. That didn't happen. Um, he was talking about, in all fairness, he didn't pull us out of Afghanistan, but at the same time, he did start making movements towards that. He did the Abraham Accords, which is basically paying off the Saudis, UAE, and all these other Arab countries with money and bribes so that they can make peace with Israel. I mean, there wasn't much to it, and it doesn't exactly solve the conflict at all. So that was an L, but that was a positive for Israel. So that's a positive for not America first, but Israel first people, which are plentiful in the Conservative Party for sure. And then yeah, the COVID situation with the lockdowns and etc. And yeah, it was a bit of a shit show. First term presidency, not much was done. The economy was all right, but in terms of the things that he said he was going to do, he got none of those things done whatsoever. Not zero things. So then we come to essentially now looking at the second term of the presidency, and Marg is still strong. People still believe in him and support him. For some reason, I don't understand why he's not exactly done anything or shown anything in terms of he's actually going to do things correctly. And he's become even more establishment. So before he came, he was a provocateur. His rhetoric was strong. He came in with an iron fist and he wanted to take things down from the outside. He was an outside character. Nobody really knew him. He came from the business world. He wasn't establishment. This time, what has he said? He said, "I'm going to be amazing for Israel. I'm going to go even harder than Biden has," which is insane enough. We're going to give them everything that they need. And the reason why he has done that is because he had a conversation with the Adelsons and all the big donors, the people who said that he wouldn't like to take money from. The money has come to him, so that they've wired quite hundreds of millions now to his campaign. So he's starting to do their bidding. He's now also put who in his office. He's got Nikki Haley, who might be a potential. JD Vance is potentially vice president. You're looking at people like Tom Cotton, who looks absolutely nuts off the charts. You're looking at people like Lindsey Graham, who are happy to have him in. He also went to the big tech companies, all the big companies, and said, "Listen, well, I'm going to give you tax cuts. What tax cuts do you want?" So he's going to do that for big pharma, big tech, and all these big, large corporations, and they're going to support him. He's also said that immigration is fine. he's only against illegal immigration. So they will make the obviously the illegal immigration situation. He's not saying he's going to build a wall. Now he's going to say, I'm going to make legal immigration easier. So he's essentially rescinded on every single thing that he said that he would be doing in his presidency. Not one thing is being achieved. Obviously, Margaret is a bit. I don't get it. I don't understand why they can't see that sort of stuff and why his rhetoric doesn't actually line up with what he's saying. But essentially, he's rescinded on everything. He's taking big money. He's taking the funds because he needs money to get into office. He's taking the Zionist money. So now he's going to be super pro Israel. He's going to deal with the protesters on campus. He's going to deal with Iran. And basically, the best thing that Obama actually did in his administration was actually putting that nuclear deal on the table, because that meant that Iran were actually, you could see that they weren't actually pushing towards nuclear weapons, because the UN agencies that were going there were saying, listen, we've inspected the uranium enrichment level is not at the level to enrich to create nuclear weapons. They started having a bit more integration. The sanctions were lifted and they started to have a bit more integration within the world. Iran now push towards having nuclear weapons, especially when they slap more sanctions on it. And I think Donald Trump will be even more hawkish with them, which will lead to the war that obviously Israel wants, which will not Americans will die in, and will be an Iraq shit show times 25. Because if Iraq was bad, Iran's going to be insanely bad. So that's something that's going to be on the horizon. He's also going to give those tax cuts to those billionaires, and that's why they're not really that much against him. People aren't worried now that Trump's going to come into office. Essentially, he's going to be fine to get in office. He will win the election, but he will do absolutely nothing. And yeah, the America First movement, I guess, will move on beyond him. But it's interesting seeing how things start playing out, and if people can actually see what's going on. Because I'm seeing a lot of on the right, people are just starting to like abandon him. They call it the alt right, but I think that alt right is starting to become larger than the actual woke right. I would call them, the Daily Wires, the Ben Shapiro's of this world, those kinds, the PragerUs, Charlie Kirk's, starting to be taken over by a new strand on the right, and I think those people will be pushing that agenda moving forward. So it's quite interesting. But yeah, So Trump shits the bed. What else can you say? See you later.